The hallway outside our Brooklyn apartment was still dark, the kind of blue-gray hush that comes right before sunrise. Lucas's footsteps echoed up the stairs, heavy, unsteady, like he hadn't slept. He reached our door, pulled out his keys, and the first thing he noticed wasn't the silence. It was the baby bottle drying rack sitting inside the window, empty. He tried the lock, it didn't turn. He tried again, jiggling the key, harder this time. Click. Nothing. For the first time in a long time, Lucas looked scared. Inside the apartment, the lights were off. The bassinet where Noah slept 2 nights ago was gone. The rocking chair where I spent every hour feeding our son was missing. The counter, once cluttered with formula samples the hospital sent home, was wiped clean. But Lucas didn't know that yet. He only saw one thing. A MacBook Air opened on the kitchen table, facing the door, as if someone had been searching something and left in a hurry. The screen had gone dark, but Lucas knew that laptop was mine, and if it was still here, where was I? He pressed his face closer to the window. The cushions from the nursing pillow were tossed on the sofa, the white blanket gone from the bassinet stand. A tiny pair of blue newborn socks sat abandoned on the floor. And then he saw it. An empty hospital bracelet, printed with our son's name, Noah Collins. Lucas swallowed hard and finally whispered, "Avery?" His phone buzzed, 1 missed call, Sloan. A second ping, a voicemail. He silenced it quickly, wiping his palm across his forehead like someone had just turned a spotlight on him. Then he dialed me. My phone, the one I always kept beside Noah, rang once, twice, then went to voicemail. He called again, straight to voicemail this time. Lucas stepped back from the door, breathing fast. He looked around the hallway as if I might appear holding the baby, as if this could all be explained. But the neighbors' doors stayed shut. The building was quiet. That was the moment fear finally hit him. Not anger, not pride, fear. Because 2 days ago, in the maternity ward, he had promised he'd be there. But he wasn't. I gave birth to Noah with a nurse holding my hand, while Lucas was at a late business dinner. And last night, our 3rd night home, he never came back at all. Now the door to his house wouldn't open. His wife wasn't inside. His newborn son wasn't inside. And the silence was louder than any fight we had ever had. He dialed me again, whispering as if someone could hear, "Avery, please, pick up." But I didn't, because 3 hours earlier, while Lucas was still asleep in a hotel room he didn't pay for with his own credit card, I fastened Noah into his car seat, zipped his tiny jacket, and closed the door behind me. I locked it once, then twice. Then slid the spare key back under the rug, where Lucas would find it and realize I had nothing to hide. We slipped into the back of a taxi headed toward Brooklyn Heights, where my best friend Maya waited with the lights on and a spare room made up. As the cab pulled away, I looked at the window of our apartment for the last time. Noah slept on my chest, his tiny breaths brushing against my skin. He didn't know his father never came home. He didn't know I had spent the night packing what little a newborn needs to survive. But I knew something Lucas didn't. That Louis Vuitton diaper bag he brought home yesterday, filled with gifts from his coworkers, wasn't from them. It carried a floral perfume I had never worn. And inside one of the pockets, hidden beneath newborn onesies and a Tiffany ribbon, was the hotel receipt. That was when the world I tried to build with Lucas collapsed. And that was when I left. When the taxi stopped in front of Maya's brownstone in Brooklyn Heights, the sky was turning the color of silver dust. I carried Noah against my chest, his tiny knit hat slipping over his eyebrows. Every step up those stairs felt like walking through water, heavy, slow, unreal. Maya opened the door before I could knock. Her hair was messy, sweatshirt inside out, slippers mismatched. She didn't care. She wrapped one arm around me, one under Noah's back, guiding us inside like she'd been waiting her whole life to do it. "Sit, I'll get you water," she whispered. I lowered myself onto her couch, the cushions soft in a way nothing in my life felt soft anymore. My shirt still smelled like the hospital, hand sanitizer, warm swaddles, skin-to-skin contact, except something else clung to me too, the perfume from the Louis Vuitton diaper bag. Sharp, floral, expensive, not mine. I stared at the bag beside me, beige leather, gold zipper, still with the price tag tucked inside. Lucas had placed it next to my hospital bed 2 days earlier, saying it was a gift from the team at the office. I didn't question it then. I was tired. Stitches pulled with every movement, and Noah wouldn't sleep unless he heard my heartbeat. But last night, when Lucas didn't come home, I smelled that perfume again. On the blanket, on the bag, on his jacket. Maya handed me a glass of water. Tell me everything. I didn't cry. Not yet. Instead, I reached into the diaper bag and pulled out the hotel receipt I'd silently found at 3 a.m., tucked under the newborn onesies. Printed bold across the top, Midtown Lux Suites. Room 804. 2 guests. Check-in, 10:47 p.m. Same night, I was sitting alone on the rocking chair, looking at the clock, telling myself he'd be back any minute. I placed the receipt on the coffee table. Maya's eyes sharpened. Avery. This is proof. Proof. The word tasted metallic. I powered on my MacBook Air, fingers trembling, and opened our shared bank account. The screen glowed in the dim living room, casting light across Noah's sleeping face. There it was. Charges from a Midtown lounge. A jewelry purchase, Cartier with a gift message, for S. The hotel payment. My chest tightened so hard I had to whisper to breathe. Maya, that's our money. That's Noah's formula. That's rent. She squeezed my hand. We'll freeze the account, first thing in the morning. Noah stirred, his tiny cry cutting through the air like glass. I lifted him to my shoulder, swaying gently. His cheek pressed to my collarbone, warm and innocent, unaware that his world had already broken before he learned to smile. That was the moment a tear finally escaped. Not because Lucas cheated, but because my son deserved better than lies before he could say his first word. Maya grabbed her iPhone and dialed a colleague from the family law division. Her voice dropped into something firm and controlled. Yes, we need to discuss emergency financial separation, infidelity, shared account misuse, infant involved. The legal words sounded cold, but they gave me something I hadn't felt in months, ground beneath my feet. When Noah fell back asleep, Maya opened her laptop. Let's list every charge that isn't yours. Line after line, date after date, the story wrote itself. Dinners near Fifth Avenue, a spa booking, a flower delivery. And finally, the hotel. Maya paused. You know what hurts the most? I waited. He didn't just betray you. He spent your love like it was money that would always refill itself. My throat closed. Because she was right. Outside the window, Brooklyn woke slowly. Delivery trucks, joggers, someone walking a dog in a red harness. Life kept moving, even while mine had stopped. I kissed the top of Noah's head. I'm not going back, I said quietly. Not while he lies and calls it love. Maya nodded. Then tomorrow, we begin. In the stillness of that small living room, with a newborn on my chest and the world trembling beneath me, something inside clicked into place. I wasn't just a wife who left. I was a mother who would not let her son grow up learning that deception is normal. And somewhere uptown, Lucas was staring at our locked apartment door, dialing my number again and again, trying to find the family he had already lost. Morning light filtered through Maya's curtains, a pale gold that barely warmed the room. I hadn't slept. Noah's breathing rose and fell against my chest, his tiny fists curled like he was holding on to something he didn't want to lose. Maya typed quietly at the kitchen table, coffee steaming beside her. I watched her scroll through the bank statements again, each charge like a blade carving the same wound deeper. Look at this, she said softly. She turned her laptop toward me. A $1,200 transaction from a flower boutique near Fifth Avenue. The memo line read, White peonies, delivery for SP. The initials stung. SP, my throat went dry. Sloane Pierce? I had met her once. Just long enough to feel something tighten inside my chest. It was at a corporate gala Lucas dragged me to last winter when I was 6 months pregnant and walking felt like carrying bricks. She wore a silver dress that shimmered when she moved, and when Lucas introduced us, she smiled too sweetly. You're glowing, she had said, touching my stomach lightly, as if she owned a part of my body. And Lucas, he laughed, proud on the outside, nervous underneath. I hadn't thought much about it then. Hormones, exhaustion, hundreds of handshakes in a ballroom overlooking the Manhattan skyline. A blur of champagne flutes and designer perfumes. But now, the initials made everything sharp. Maya closed her laptop. We need proof beyond receipts. Proof. The ugly kind. Noah stirred, so I rocked him gently. My body still hurt from the delivery. Stitches tugging, bones shifting back into place. My doctor had warned me not to lift anything heavier than the baby, but grief weighed more than any suitcase. Maya handed me my iPhone. Check his social media. I opened Lucas's profile. For months, his posts were polished. Meetings, conferences, handshakes, smiles that looked rehearsed. But hidden in the background of a photo taken at a midtown event, a mirror caught a reflection. A woman's hand holding a champagne glass with a thin diamond bracelet, not mine. I zoomed in until the pixels blurred. My chest tightened. Maya saw my face and leaned closer. "That's her, isn't it?" I nodded. The sadness inside me flickered into something else. Not rage. Not yet. Clarity. We packed Noah's diaper bag and headed to the pediatric clinic in Brooklyn for his 3-day check. The waiting room was filled with exhausted parents, swaddled babies, and soft lullabies playing overhead. Life that should have felt normal. Life that should have been mine. Dr. Patel examined Noah carefully, smiling. "He's healthy. You're doing a good job, Avery." The words cracked something inside me. Because I wasn't sure I believed them. He saw the way I held myself, too still. Too quiet. "You're healing physically," he said gently, "but you need support emotionally too. You don't have to deal with everything alone." On the way out, I saw something that made my breath stop. A gift basket on the reception desk. Fancy, wrapped in ribbon, stuffed with baby items and luxury lotion. The tag read, "Congratulations Sloan LH, Lucas's initials." I froze. So did Maya. "Sloan is a patient here?" she whispered. My knees felt weak. I tightened my hold on Noah. A receptionist walked by, smiling politely. "Oh, that basket?" "It was picked up yesterday morning. Sweet gift from her partner. She just had a procedure done." Procedure. The word cut like ice. Maya and I walked out slowly, the city noise suddenly too loud. Cars honking, a man arguing with a parking meter, pigeons scattering at our feet. Everything moved while my world tilted. Maya spoke first. He wasn't just cheating, he was building a life with her. A tremor went through my chest. The nights he didn't come home, the sudden business trips, the surprise gifts he pretended came from coworkers, the perfume, the hotel, the flowers, the initials. It wasn't a mistake. It was a choice. I lifted Noah higher on my shoulder. His cheek rested against my collarbone, small and warm, my anchor in the storm. "I'm not breaking," I told Maya, voice shaking but real. "Not for him, not anymore." She squeezed my arm, steady and sure. "Then we start gathering everything." By the time we reached her brownstone again, something inside me had changed. The fear was still there. The heartbreak too. But under both of them, a new voice started to rise. A quiet one. A strong one. He lied. He'd built a secret life. But I was still standing. And I was not done. That afternoon, I stood by Maya's kitchen window while Noah slept in a portable bassinet she'd set beside the couch. Outside, the street was quiet. Strollers, delivery vans, the low hum of a city pretending nothing in the world was breaking. But my world was already split into 2 pieces. Before I left, and after. Maya poured coffee into 2 mugs and placed one in front of me. "I called Detective Morales," she said. "He'll stop by in an hour." A shiver ran across my skin. Morales wasn't a divorce lawyer. He was financial crimes. And if he was coming, that meant Maya found something worse than cheating. She opened her laptop, scrolling through screenshots she'd taken earlier. "Look at these transactions. They're not just dinners or flowers. There's a pattern." The pattern was impossible to ignore. Repeated payments to the same consulting account. Small enough to stay unnoticed, frequent enough to mean something was being fed. Then she clicked one more tab. An email draft. Lucas left open months ago. Not sent, not deleted. Subject line, invoice adjustment, Pierce Creative LLC. My heart twisted. Pierce, Sloan. He wasn't just having an affair, Maya said, voice low. He was moving company money through her. Lucas had always bragged that his job in medical sales gave us stability, that he took care of this family while I worked small event contracts from home on my MacBook Air. I used to believe him. Now, I didn't even know what part of our life was real. A soft knock sounded on the door. Maya opened it, and Detective Morales stepped inside. Broad shoulders, quiet expression, a folder tucked under his arm. He greeted us calmly, like this was routine. Maybe to him it was. But to me, it felt like the floor shifting. "Miss Collins," he said, nodding gently. "I understand you found evidence of unauthorized spending from a shared marital account." I handed him the printed receipts, the hotel, the jewelry, the flowers. Then Maya showed him the bank screenshots and the draft email. Morales examined everything in silence, the kind of silence that doesn't need words. "When did your husband make these purchases?" he asked. "Over the last few months," I answered. "Mostly while I was pregnant. At the hospital, he came in carrying that bag. I pointed to the Louis Vuitton on the couch, and I smelled perfume. I didn't know what to think. Morales made a few notes. Using marital funds for an affair is considered financial misconduct. If the consulting invoices are fraudulent, that's a larger crime. My hands felt cold. Not because I wanted revenge, because I suddenly realized I had slept beside a stranger. Morales then asked something simple, but it shook me harder than anything else. Have you felt unsafe with him? I thought of Lucas's temper, sharp, sudden, always disguised as logic. The way he'd insult me so quietly that I doubted my own hearing. The way he'd disappear for business trips and return with expensive gifts I never asked for. The nights I lay awake, holding my belly, whispering to the baby that we were okay even if I wasn't. Finally I nodded, yes. Morales closed his notebook. We'll start a preliminary investigation. I'll need a statement from you and copies of everything. Noah began to cry softly in the bassinet. I reached for him, lifting him carefully against my shoulder, breathing in the powdery scent of his skin. My body ached, my stitches burned, but his warmth steadied me. Morales stood to leave. If he contacts you, don't engage. Document everything. You're doing the right thing. When he walked out, the room felt bigger, like someone had opened a window to let fresh air in. Maya touched my arm. This isn't just about the affair anymore, Avery. It's about what kind of father he is willing to be. I kissed Noah's forehead, his tiny lips brushing my collarbone. He's not the man Lucas pretends to be. The doorbell rang again. Too soon for Morales. Maya peeked through the peephole. Her face went white. It's him. Lucas, standing on the doorstep, eyes frantic, phone in his hand, looking for the family he left behind. And this time, I wasn't the one afraid. Maya didn't open the door right away. She kept one hand on the knob, the other pressed to her chest, breathing shallow. My heart hammered so loudly, I was sure Lucas could hear it on the other side. Noah slept in my arms, wrapped in a soft blanket that still smelled of the hospital laundry. I kissed his forehead, as if my breath could shield him from whatever waited in the hallway. Maya turned her head. You don't have to see him. But I did. Because I needed to hear his lies with clear eyes, not the tired love-blind eyes I had before. I stepped forward. Let him in. Maya unlocked the deadbolt. Lucas rushed inside like the building was on fire. His hair was a mess. Shirt wrinkled, tie shoved into his jacket pocket. But the first thing I noticed wasn't his clothes. It was the faint, sharp perfume clinging to him. Sweet, floral, expensive. The same scent on the Louis Vuitton diaper bag. The same on Noah's hospital blanket. He froze when he saw me. Avery, oh God, his voice cracked. I've been calling you all night. What are you doing here? Why would you take the baby? Every word sounded rehearsed, like he'd practiced it in the car. I didn't answer. I just held Noah tighter. Lucas stepped closer, palms out, pretending calm. Look, if this is about last night, I was working. You know how my job is. I didn't check my phone. I should have. I'm sorry. Maya folded her arms. Which part are you sorry for? Missing his birth, or missing the next 3 nights after that? Lucas glared at her. This is between us. Stay out of it. No, I said quietly. She stays. His eyes flicked to mine, dark, annoyed, but hiding under a mask of concern. He walked toward the bassinet, reaching out like he had the right. Let me hold him. I stepped back. No. Avery, don't do this. His voice sharpened. You're not thinking straight. You just had a baby. You're emotional. You need to come home. My stomach clenched. There it was, the gaslighting I knew too well. The same voice that once convinced me my feelings were imaginary, that exhaustion was overreacting, that loneliness was just hormones. I looked at his jacket, and before I could stop myself, I said, "Whose perfume is that?" Lucas blinked. What perfume? Maya opened the diaper bag and pulled out the hotel receipt, placing it gently on the coffee table like a knife disguised as paper. Midtown Lux Suites, she read. 2 guests. Same night Avery was alone with a newborn. Lucas's jaw twitched. That's for a business client. I put her in a room because her flight got delayed. I didn't stay. Maya lifted the receipt higher. Then why is there a charge for room service at 3:12 a.m. with 2 entrees and a bottle of Pinot Grigio? His face changed, confidence cracking, panic leaking through. He reached for the paper, but Maya pulled her hand back. Don't touch it, she said, voice sharp as glass. Lucas turned to me again. Avery, please, you know I'd never hurt you. I love you. I love our son. I stared at him. At the man who missed the birth of his first child because he was sharing a hotel room with someone else. At the man who held my hand in the delivery room while smelling like someone else's perfume. At the man who spent our money to build memories with another woman. You love yourself, I said. My voice didn't shake this time. And whatever life you're living behind my back. Something inside him snapped. His calm slipped, anger showing beneath. You don't get to take my son, he growled. You can't just disappear and… Disappear? I whispered. Isn't that what you've been doing for months? Silence. He had no answer, just a face full of rage and shame he didn't know how to hide. Noah stirred, whimpering. The sound felt like a line drawn between us, where my duty began and Lucas's ended. Maya stepped between us. You need to leave. Lucas looked like he might refuse, but then he saw Detective Morales' card on the table. His face paled. He stepped back slowly, like the room had teeth. This isn't over, he said, voice shaking. He turned, walked out, and the door closed behind him. And for the first time in a long time, the house felt safe. But it also felt like the beginning of a storm far bigger than infidelity, because Lucas didn't leave like a guilty man. He left like a man planning something. After Lucas stormed out, the apartment fell into a strange quiet, like the air was waiting for its next bruise. I laid Noah back into the portable bassinet, his tiny fingers curled into soft fists, eyelids fluttering as he drifted into sleep. Maya sat beside me on the sofa. He's panicking, she said. That means he's hiding more than we think. I already knew that. The affair was one wound. The money was another. But something deeper twisted in my gut, like Lucas had built an entire second life I never saw. An hour later, Maya's iPhone buzzed. She glanced at the screen, frowned, then answered. Yes, this is she. Her face slowly tightened. What time? Yes, we'll be there. She hung up. That was Morales. He found something. I exhaled slowly. What? An email account registered under Lucas's name, but the password change request came from someone else. Someone else. I didn't have to guess who. We packed Noah's things and drove to Morales' office near the Brooklyn precinct, Noah sleeping in the car seat behind us. The building loomed gray and unremarkable, but walking inside felt like crossing a border, from denial into truth. Morales greeted us in a small conference room with glass walls. He didn't waste time. We issued a data request to Lucas's employer. There are suspicious payments tied to a private contractor, Pierce Creative. Sloan. Her business. Her signature on the invoices. Morales opened a folder and slid a printed transcript across the table. These were text messages recovered from his work phone. I hesitated before looking. My hands were trembling. Maya read first, voice steady but cold. We'll slip the cost into the marketing budget. No one checks the reports anyway. When can you get away again? Soon, after the baby comes. She'll be busy. The words hit me harder than I was prepared for. After the baby comes. He had planned this. He wasn't careless. He was confident. Morales' voice softened. You have grounds to request emergency financial protection and full access to your shared accounts. You can also pursue charges if this continues. Maya asked the question lingering in both our minds. What about custody? Morales nodded slowly. Judges take financial abuse seriously, especially with a newborn. Noah stirred, whimpering. I lifted him from the carrier and rested him against my heartbeat. It calmed both of us. As we prepared to leave, Morales added, There's something else. A gift delivery tied to Sloane's apartment. Expensive. Signed yesterday. I already knew what it was. I'd seen the tag at the pediatric clinic. But Morales wasn't finished. She had a medical procedure recently. Outpatient. Nothing illegal, just connected. Maya and I exchanged a look. Connected. Like the missing puzzle piece. We left the precinct and walked toward the car. The winter air stung my cheeks, sharp enough to keep me awake after another sleepless night. A delivery truck stopped at the curb, the driver unloading boxes. One was stamped with a luxury cosmetics brand I recognized from Sloane's Instagram. Bright ribbon, perfect bow. Sloane didn't hide her life. She displayed it. While I hid bruises made of silence. On the drive back, Noah whimpered, so we pulled over near a quiet cafe. I sat in the back seat with him, feeding him slowly. His tiny lips moved, his fingers pressed against my shirt. A world so small and pure, completely unaware of betrayal. Maya leaned over the seat. Avery, when we confront her, you don't have to speak, I'll handle it. I shook my head. No, she needs to hear it from me. Because I wanted her to see the woman she dismissed as fragile, the woman she thought would break. Later that evening, as snow began to fall over Brooklyn, we stood outside Sloane's apartment building. A sleek glass lobby, soft lighting, modern furniture. She lived comfortably in the world Lucas built with our money. The doorman announced our arrival, confused but polite. A minute later, she stepped into the lobby, hair perfect, coat cinched at the waist, a glittering band on her wrist. Cartier. The same bracelet from Lucas's statements. Her eyes widened when she saw me holding Noah. Maya stayed silent. I didn't. Your perfume was on my son's blanket, I said softly. And on my husband's jacket. I don't need to guess how. Sloane's face went pale, but she forced a smile. Avery, let's not make this dramatic. He said you were separated. A lie. Smooth, practiced, prepared. I took a step closer. Separated women don't share hospital bracelets with newborn dates, and they don't get surprise visits from their husbands at 3 a.m. in midtown hotels. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. I reached into Noah's diaper bag, pulled out the hotel receipt, and placed it on the marble counter. One night, I whispered. One night alone with our son was enough for me to see who he really was. Sloane's hands shook, because for the first time, she realized I wasn't the quiet wife Lucas described. I was the witness, and I was done being silent. Sloane's lobby smelled like expensive candles and fresh-cut lilies, the kind of place where nothing messy was ever supposed to happen. She stood a few feet from me, arms crossed, confidence slipping like makeup in the rain. Her eyes flicked to Noah, sleeping against my chest. A muscle in her jaw twitched. Just enough for me to see she didn't expect me to show up with a newborn in my arms. Avery, you're overwhelmed, she said, lowering her voice. Lucas told me things were complicated. He said you two were living separate lives. My laugh came out soft but sharp. Did he say that before or after he checked into the hotel room? She swallowed. The bracelet on her wrist, a thin Cartier bangle, glinted under the lobby lights. It was delicate, elegant, meant to be admired. But her hand shook. Maya stepped forward. We know about the invoices. We know about the marketing scheme. And we know it's running through Pierce Creative. Sloane's eyes snapped toward her, widening. You should leave. Not until you hear me, I said. I trusted him. I built a home with him. And he spent our money pretending you were his future. Sloane's composure cracked for the first time. He told me he was trapped, she whispered. That you didn't love him anymore. That the marriage was over. My heart clenched, but not with heartbreak. With clarity. Lucas hadn't just cheated, he manufactured a story where he was the victim. He made me the villain in her eyes. He lied to both of us, I said quietly. And when he gets caught, he'll throw you under the bus to save himself. Sloane's pulse flickered in her throat. She started to speak, but the words tangled. She wasn't guilty by accident. She was guilty with her eyes open. But now she realized Lucas never intended to protect her. Maya placed an envelope on the marble counter in front of her. This is a copy of everything we've gathered. If you want to save yourself, you can cooperate with the investigation. Sloane's breath hitched. Investigation? She said it like she wasn't sure she heard it right. Maya nodded. Financial crimes, fraud, abuse of shared marital assets, using a contractor to launder company money. Sloane's mask fell completely. Fear replaced arrogance. That wasn't supposed to happen, she whispered. He said it was clean, that no one would ever look twice. I looked her straight in the eyes. He also said he'd be there when our son was born, but he wasn't. Her gaze dropped to Noah. She tried to speak, but her lips trembled. For a second, she looked less like the woman in the silver dress and more like someone who realized she was only a chapter in Lucas's story, not the ending. The doorman coughed politely, awkwardly trapped in the scene. Sloane stepped closer. What do you want from me? Nothing, I said. Just the truth. A tear slid down her cheek. Not dramatic, not loud, just quiet, shameful. He told me you were cold, that you pushed him away after you got pregnant, that he tried to make it work but you made him feel unwanted. Maya scoffed. Classic. But something inside me didn't break. It hardened. Because now I saw the full picture. Lucas didn't cheat because he was unloved. He cheated because he wanted a life with no responsibility and no consequence. Sloane looked toward the elevator as if expecting him to walk out and save her. But he didn't. He was nowhere. Just like he wasn't in the hospital. just like he wasn't in the nursery, just like he wasn't in our marriage. I don't want him, I said quietly. I want my son to grow up without learning how to lie. Sloane wiped her cheek. What happens now? You talk, Maya said, or you take the fall with him. Sloane hesitated, but only for a breath. Then she whispered, he kept receipts in a storage unit in Red Hook. He said they were backup records in case someone checked the books. I never saw inside, but he had keys. A new path opened, a new piece of the puzzle. And just like that, the woman who shared my husband's bed became the woman who could help end his lies. No victory, no satisfaction, just truth. When we left, snow drifted across the sidewalk, quiet, soft, covering the tire tracks and footprints. New York went on breathing, unaware that a marriage had died and a mother had begun to rise from the ashes. I strapped Noah back into his car seat, kissed his forehead, and whispered a promise he was too young to understand. You won't grow up learning how to disappear. The next morning, Brooklyn felt colder than usual. Sharp air, gray sky, the kind of wind that scraped against skin and memory. I wrapped Noah in a thicker blanket and buckled him into the car seat before we left Maya's building. She drove, and I sat in the back beside my son, one hand resting on his tiny back, the other gripping the diaper bag like armor. Detective Morales had already gone ahead. He contacted the storage facility in Red Hook, secured a warrant, and requested a unit check. We weren't allowed to go inside with him, but he asked us to wait nearby. Maybe he knew I needed to be close to whatever truth lay behind those metal walls. When we arrived, the place looked ordinary. Rows of roll-up doors, cracked pavement, a tall chain-link fence. Ordinary should have felt safe, but ordinary things hold secrets too. Morales stepped out from behind the office door and signaled us over. Stay outside the boundary, he instructed, but you can wait here. Maya nodded. I kept Noah close, rocking him gently, whispering every small sound that came from his tiny mouth. Minutes passed slowly, too slow for a heart that wanted closure, too fast for a wound that wasn't finished bleeding. Finally, Morales returned, holding a sealed evidence bag. Inside were glossy papers, folded receipts, and a ledger book thick with ink. There's enough documentation for a full audit, he said quietly. Invoices paid to Pierce Creative, kickback receipts, email printouts, everything. My knees nearly gave way. Not because I wanted Lucas punished, but because every page was proof that I was never the crazy, emotional wife he tried to make me feel like. I was right, all along. I was right. Will it be enough? I asked. Morales nodded. More than enough. He looked down at Noah sleeping in the carrier against my chest. You protected him by leaving. That matters, Avery. Before I could answer, a black Mercedes pulled into the parking lot too fast, tires scraping asphalt. The car door slammed. Lucas stepped out. He looked different from yesterday. Hair uncombed, shirt untucked, fury carved into every line on his face. His eyes darted from me to Morales, then to the evidence bag. What are you doing? He shouted. You can't take my property. Morales didn't flinch. Sir, this is part of an investigation. You need to step back. Lucas ignored him. He came toward me, voice cracking with anger. You had no right. You took my son. You went through my accounts. You're ruining my life. I stood still, not trembling, not backing away. Noah slept against me, breathing softly, as if he knew he was safe. You ruined your own life, I said quietly. Lucas opened his mouth, but something changed in his eyes. Not guilt. Fear. Because at the far end of the lot, another police car arrived. 2 officers stepped out. Lucas's gaze flicked from them to Morales, then to the evidence bag. His breath went shallow. You told her, he hissed under his breath. You told her everything. For a second I didn't understand who he meant. Then I saw it. In his car the passenger door hung open, and a scarf lay on the seat, pale silk, floral, Sloane's scent still lingering. She wasn't with him, but he expected her to be. He thought she'd run here to save him. He thought his lies still had a future. They didn't. Morales signaled the officers. Mr. Hartman, you're being detained for questioning regarding financial misconduct and misuse of corporate funds. You need to come with us. Lucas's face drained of color. Avery, please, tell them this is a misunderstanding. But I didn't speak. Because every night I cried alone in our apartment, every appointment I took by myself, every contraction I breathed through without him, he was somewhere else, stealing from our future. And now the bill had come due. The officers placed cuffs on his wrists. He didn't fight. He just stared, stunned, like the world had betrayed him instead of the other way around. As they guided him into the car, snow began to fall, light flakes landing on his hair, melting before they could stay. Maya wrapped her arm around me. "It's happening, Avery. The truth is happening." I looked down at Noah. His tiny fingers curled around the edge of my sweater. For the first time since I left the hospital, I breathed without pain. Not because Lucas was gone, but because I wasn't scared anymore. 2 weeks later, winter settled over New York like a heavy blanket. The sidewalks outside the Brooklyn family court were dusted with snow, gray slush gathering near the curbs. Maya held the door open for me as I carried Noah inside, tucked into his carrier, wearing a tiny knit hat that made his face look even smaller. I never imagined I'd be here, standing in a courtroom, asking for protection from the man I once trusted. But grief wasn't the heaviest thing I carried. Hope was. Lucas sat on the opposite bench, hands clasped, jaw tense. He wore a pressed suit, hair neat, as if polishing his surface might erase the rot underneath. His lawyer whispered in his ear, but Lucas didn't take his eyes off Noah. Morales was also present, sitting quietly in the back, folder in hand. The weight of the investigation hadn't vanished. There were still audits to complete, hearings to attend, but today wasn't about crimes. Today was about my son. When the judge entered, everyone stood. Lucas shot me a glance, half pleading, half angry. The kind of look a man gives when the world stops orbiting around him. Case, temporary custody, and protective measures. Lucas's lawyer spoke first. A polished voice, smooth as marble. "Your Honor, my client is a devoted father. He has stable employment, a residence, and the means to provide for his child." The mother removed the infant from their marital home without notice, acting irrationally due to postpartum emotions. The words hit like a slap. Postpartum emotions. I wasn't a mother protecting her newborn. I was irrational. Maya stood. Her voice didn't need volume. It carried power on its own. "Your Honor, the father was absent during labor, absent the night after birth, and absent the night the child was brought home from the hospital. We have bank statements proving that marital funds were used to support an extramarital relationship, including expenditures at a midtown hotel the night the child was left alone with the mother." She placed a stack of documents on the judge's desk. Receipts, screenshots, ledgers, printed messages recovered from Lucas's work phone. The quiet truth spoke louder than any shouting match. Lucas's jaw tightened, his cheeks flushed, but he tried to appear calm. Then the judge turned to me. "Mrs. Collins, do you wish to speak?" My knees trembled, not from fear, just from the weight of everything I'd held for too long. I lifted Noah gently from the carrier and held him against my chest. His tiny breaths brushed my skin, steadying me. "Yes, Your Honor." The courtroom blurred at the edges. There was only my voice, my son, and the truth. I didn't leave because I was emotional. I left because I was alone. I gave birth without him. I fed our son by myself. I signed discharge papers with no one beside me. My voice didn't shake, even when my hands did. I didn't take Noah away. I took him somewhere safe. A newborn deserves stability, not a father who disappears for nights without explanation, not a home filled with lies. Lucas shifted in his seat. I continued. I would rather raise him in a small apartment with love and honesty than a big home built on secrets. I don't want to punish Lucas. I just want to protect my child. Silence followed, the kind that feels like the world holding its breath. The judge reviewed the papers again, eyes narrowing slightly. The financial records are concerning. The father's absences are well documented, and the ongoing criminal investigation is relevant to custody and stability. Lucas's lawyer jumped up. "Your Honor, nothing has been proven. These are allegations." The judge raised a hand. He didn't need more. "Temporary custody will be granted to the mother. The father will have supervised visitation only, pending the outcome of the criminal inquiry and a full custody evaluation." Lucas's face drained of color. The judge added firmly, "The safety and stability of the child comes first." My breath left my body in a single exhale. Not victory, not triumph, relief. Noah moved slightly, as if sensing the air change, and pressed his cheek against my shoulder. When court adjourned, Lucas approached, voice low and shaking. "You ruined me." I turned to him, not angry, just honest. "You did that yourself." Maya guided me toward the exit. As we stepped outside, snowflakes drifted through the air, soft and silent. The city lights reflected against the white, turning cold streets into something gentle. For the first time since giving birth, I felt like the ground beneath my feet was solid. Not perfect, not painless, but safe. And safety was enough. Spring came slowly to Brooklyn. Snow melted into thin gray ribbons along the sidewalk, trees budded with pale green, and for the first time in months, sunlight didn't feel like a stranger. I moved into a small one-bedroom near Central Park, on the 5th floor of an old brick building with creaky floors and wide windows. It wasn't luxury, but light filled every corner, and it felt honest. Noah was 8 weeks old now. Bigger, stronger. His hands reached for everything, eyes wide with a curiosity that made the world feel new again. Every morning, I buckled him into his stroller and walked past the park entrance, breathing in air that didn't carry the weight of secrets. On the kitchen counter sat a Mont Blanc pen in a velvet box, payment from a client whose charity gala I helped plan remotely while Noah slept beside me. It was the first event I'd taken since leaving the hospital. The first paycheck I earned on my own since becoming a mother. A small beginning, but a beginning all the same. The criminal case against Lucas went forward faster than anyone expected. Morales kept me updated with quiet professionalism. Fraudulent invoices, company money funneled into Pierce Creative, email trails, storage receipts. The corporate audit matched every charge. Lucas's employer pressed charges. The district attorney took over. He didn't get handcuffs on a sidewalk. He got a courtroom. He pled guilty to financial misconduct. He avoided jail time, but only by surrendering his position, paying restitution, and accepting probation with financial monitoring. His accounts were frozen. The condo he bragged about was seized. The Mercedes disappeared from the garage. Every symbol he used to prove he was a man of status was gone. One afternoon, he showed up early for a supervised visit at the Child Facility Center in Manhattan. Glass walls, soft toys, neutral ground. Noah sat on a padded mat, kicking his feet. The supervising staff member stayed nearby, clipboard in hand. Lucas crouched down, trying to coax a smile. "Hey, buddy," he said softly. "It's Dad." Noah blinked, looked at him, then turned away, reaching for a brightly colored rattle instead. A quiet rejection, not cruel, just honest. Lucas's face fell, and for a moment, he didn't look angry or powerful or entitled. He looked small, like a man finally realizing the cost of every lie he thought no one would notice. After the session, as I fastened Noah into his car seat, Lucas approached. "You won," he said, voice thin. I shook my head. "There's nothing to win, just consequences." He stared at the pavement. "Do you hate me?" I looked at Noah, sleepy, warm, safe, and answered truthfully. "No. I just stopped sacrificing myself for someone who chose a fantasy over a family." There was no shouting, no revenge, just an ending that felt deserved. Weeks passed. The city warmed. I finished another event contract, then a second. Money didn't pour in, it trickled, steady and honest. I began reading at night again, after Noah drifted to sleep. Atomic Habits, bookmarked with hospital wristbands I couldn't throw away yet. Healing wasn't fast, but it was real. One warm evening, I carried Noah to the rooftop garden of the building. The skyline stretched in front of us, Manhattan glowing gold against a purple sky. Noah babbled, grabbing at my hair, making little noises that sounded like laughter. A woman watering potted herbs smiled at us. "He's got your eyes," I smiled back. "He does." I sat on a bench, holding my son close, watching the city breathe. I once thought my life was over the night I left that locked apartment, but something beautiful had been waiting on the other side of the door. A life where silence didn't hurt, where love wasn't earned by shrinking myself smaller, where truth didn't have to hide. Noah rested his head against my heart. The breeze moved gently through his hair, and for the first time I understood something simple and profound. Leaving wasn't losing. It was choosing. Choosing peace. Choosing honesty. Choosing a future where my son would know what love looked like when it didn't come with shadows. I kissed the top of his head and whispered into the warm spring air, "We are okay now." And for the first time, I believed it. 1 year later, spring returned to New York. Cherry blossoms floated across the walking paths of Central Park, sticking to the wheels of Noah's stroller and landing softly in his hair. He laughed, bright, full, the kind of sound that could patch every crack my heart had ever carried. Our apartment was still small, still simple, but sunlight filled every window. I worked from the kitchen table on my MacBook Air, planning charity events while Noah stacked wooden blocks at my feet. Some days were messy, loud, unpredictable. But they were ours, and they were honest. On Noah's first birthday, a few neighbors gathered on the rooftop garden. No big party, no lavish decorations, just a tiny cake, a handful of candles, and Noah smearing frosting across his cheeks while everyone clapped. When he took his first wobbly steps toward me, the whole world went quiet. I caught him in my arms. And in that moment, I realized something gentle and true. I didn't just survive what happened, I rebuilt myself. There were still court dates, still paperwork, still memories that stung if I looked at them too closely. But there was also peace, slow, steady, and real. I learned that healing wasn't a finish line. It was a choice I made every morning when I opened the blinds and let daylight in. Before bedtime, I held Noah against my chest, breathing in the powdery smell of his hair. The city lights flickered beyond the window, and somewhere below, people hurried through their own stories, some beginning, some ending. Mine was still being written, but it was written in truth, in love that didn't hurt. In a life where my son would grow up knowing that his mother chose light, even after walking through the dark, and that made every step worth it.